Hello, and welcome to the movie universe. I'm your host, Movie Fan. Well, Halloween's around the corner, and I thought I would talk about one of my favorite Power Rangers episodes, Trick or Treat. Now, if you haven't seen it, it goes like this. It starts off with Kimberly telling Trini and Tommy that she's going to be a star on the TV game show Trick or Treat. Of course, Tommy can't be there because he's got a karate competition on that same day, and Skull, unfortunately, will be on the game show as well. Meanwhile, Rita Repulsa reveals her new plan to have the pumpkin wrapper destroy the Power Rangers instead. Of course, she instructed Squat and Bamboo to plant the pumpkin seeds in the park, which they had already done. And apparently, they've grown very well because Tommy goes through that pumpkin patch and ends up being attacked by putties. Of course, not knowing what's going on, he just informs Zordon, and Zordon says they should go to his karate competition and they'll call him if they need him. As you might recall, by this time, his Green Ranger power was very limited, so he had to conserve it as much as he could. And things are going real well for Kimberly, because she's winning, and Skull, well, big surprise, he's losing. Meanwhile, Tommy's at his karate competition, where we see one competitor use Filipino Eskrima. And unfortunately, just as Kimberly was doing well, guess what happened? Pumpkin Wrapper is getting ready to come out, so Zordon called them. And, well, Kimberly pretended that she fainted, so the rest of the team had to escort her off the stage, and Skull wins by default. And so the Rangers teleport to the command center, and once they're informed about the Pumpkin Wrapper, they morph and head over to the park, where they find the pumpkins, but they haven't found the biggest one yet, which is going to be the Pumpkin Wrapper. And while examining the pumpkins attach themselves to their heads, except for Kimberly because she didn't examine any of them real close. She quickly takes care of that problem by pulling out her blade blaster and slicing Jason's pumpkin, and the rest of them just all come off. And the rest of the pumpkins are all moving, and we see they're putties with pumpkin heads. The Rangers make quick work of them, and there they find the Pumpkin Wrapper. They do a little bad rhyming just to mess with him. And of course, he's finally ripened, and, well, here he is.
Ooh, you Rangers make me mad! Waking me up with a rap that bad!
Never it's time for us to beat you!
Well, you think that's something you can do? Well, I got some friends who'd like to meet you! Attack now! Get 'em! Get 'em!
After another little battle with the pumpkin putties, the Pumpkin Wrapper ties them up in his vines. And it's at this point Alpha and Zordon have no choice but to call Tommy. And unfortunately, Tommy was just getting ready to go on in the competition, but when he heard the call, he had to go. He gets there fast, slices the vine off the pumpkin, and he takes him on. Meanwhile, the Rangers get their weapons, put them together into the Power Blaster, and they destroy him. But of course, it ends with Kimberly saying that she's sorry that Tommy couldn't compete. But of course, he says,
Hey, there'd be other trophies, but you would look great in that car.
I really wanted the car.
Hey, Kim, you don't have to win prizes in a stupid game show to know you're a winner.
That we're both winners.
it's a very good little moment there because, one, it definitely shows a little bit more of their relationship, how close they are. And at the same time, those are words to live by for anybody. And of course, Skull may have won the car, but he didn't win it for very long because, unfortunately for him,
Two, out of the car.
What do you mean?
Yeah, what do you mean?
I represent network standards and practices. We reviewed your episode of Trick or Treat and discovered that you and Bulk were cheating. The car goes back to the network, so get out.
so he loses. It's a great episode. It's pretty simple by comparison because, you don't have a Megazord battle. But still, you got some great martial arts action, especially by Jason David Frank. And here's a little interesting fact for you. The footage of the one fighter using Filipino Eskrima, that was actually used in the first episode of Green with Evil. Well, what can I say? That's Saban for you. He's cheap. He rehashes footage, so what do you expect? It's actually a good episode. I highly recommend you look it up. It's not the most memorable episode, I don't think, by most people, but I still love to hear the Pumpkin Wrapper do his raps.
Welcome to my pumpkin patch. Perhaps you'd like to play some catch. Be the first one on your block to feel the mega pumpkin shock.
Yeah, gets me every time. I mean, it's corny, it's cliche. It is so 90s. Good times. But yeah, regardless of that, it's still a good episode. I highly recommend you look it up. And until then, this is Movie Fan, signing off.